Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you're from. Thank you for joining Talent View's Webinar Wednesdays. Our topic for today is super interesting. It's workplace for HR. So building a culture of collaboration using the workplace platform. So if you haven't heard of workplace, that's okay. We'll run a briefing today and we'll share with you our experience working with our customers using the workplace platform. So we're gonna kick off just very quickly. I wanna say hi to everyone and share my screen so that you can all see what you're also seeing on your screen. I'll give some guidelines right now. So give me a few seconds sharing my screen right now. Okay. So if you can see my screen, I just wanted to walk you through your Zoom tabs for today. So for your Zoom tabs, as you can see, you're seeing the presentation, but please note that you can resize your screen. So if you feel that it's too small, you want to extend that, please go ahead. There is a Q&A button at the bottom. So anytime you have any questions, we'll endeavor to pick that up and answer them live. Please feel free to just drop your questions in that Q&A portion. And as you can see also, speaker, video, and presentation slides for today will be flashing on your screen and will also be shared with you after this webinar. So don't worry, you don't need to take any screen captures. We will send you our full deck after this session. All right, so let's get started. Very interesting topic for today. Allow me to first introduce myself. My name is Ange Vera. I'm the CEO of TalentView, and I lead ASEAN operations across more than 200 clients in the region. I've been in HR, whether that's recruitment or talent acquisition for that matter, OD, training, comp and ben, you name it. I've most likely gone the rounds. And I've also written a book very specific to the talent acquisition professionals in the room. It's called Rethink Recruitment. So if you don't have a copy of that, please feel free to grab one and get one through our website. So I'll be your facilitator today together with the head for talent, culture, and communications, Lawrence Villanueva. He'll be introducing himself later on after this section. All right. So just a quick intro as well on TalentView. So we're all about employer branding. And when we talk of employer branding, what it really means is your perception in the market to your employees, to your candidates, to everyone who knows your company as an employer. And three areas of specialization that TalentView has. The first is strategy. Second is design. So just making everything look better, aligned with your brand, aligned with your tone. And the third piece, which I believe is our topic for today, our focus for this session, is technology. The way that we're connecting, engaging, driving employee performance has a lot to do with the technology platforms that we're also using and allowing them to use. And just letting you know that these are some of the brands we work with across the region. As we talk about the topic for today, how to build culture, how to build collaboration. These are just some of the companies that we've worked with, and we'll share our experiences along the way. All right, so we'll get some audience participation going. We definitely want to run a quick poll first. And I'd like to ask you, so the poll's gonna come up on your screens. I'd like to ask you, what platforms are you using at this point to collaborate with your employees? Are you using Facebook Messenger? Are you using Viber, WhatsApp, any video conferencing tools? You know, Zoom has been super popular. Even we use Zoom. So please feel free to just check all that apply. All right, so I'll give everyone a few seconds to just think through everything they use and just click on submit. All right, I hope you're done. We're now gonna look at the results. So we'll have our team flash the results of that quick survey and audience participation on screen. All right, can we see the results? There you go. So number one, Messenger apps. Everyone's using Messenger apps, 94%. 81% are using some form of video conferencing, and that's a tie with email. And then there are like 13% that use some other tools. So thank you so much. Super interesting results and a good way to sort of guide our conversation for today. All right. So what I wanted to share with you before we jump into workplace is a framework we developed very specific to this crisis, which is called the extended workplace design. What I've noticed in the market today is that everyone has had to extend their workplace into the homes of their employees, of their people. You have no choice, right? Maybe some of your employees are starting to go back to work, but a good and significant majority are still working remotely. So whether it's at home or in a coffee shop, just where it's an area that they can work, that's where our extension happens. And what we found is that there are 6 critical areas that you need to address, that you need to cover for you to be able to ensure that you have a positive and solid extended workplace in the homes or remote working conditions of your employees. So we'll go through these 6. The first one is enhanced leadership communication. Second is resilient implementation, culture and collaboration mindsets. The third, reliable and secure connectivity, which is internet. The fifth is optimized integration, and the 6th rather is data-driven change. So I wanted to go through this one by one with you very quickly, and sort of use this as a reflection time for all of us in HR, as our role has been plunged into one of the most critical, I would say, roles in our organization today. So the first is enhanced leadership communication. What do I mean by this? How are your leaders communicating at this point? I think that's a very big question. Are they even visible to the talent that you're trying to reach, to the employees? Or do the employees feel that in some way they've been disconnected from the overall company? So how are your leaders keeping in touch? How are your leaders keeping everyone informed and updated? So this, I believe, is not a sole responsibility of HR, but rather a responsibility of the executive team or the leadership team. So we've got to give opportunities for our leaders to be at the forefront of all of this, to be in a place where they can communicate, they can engage, and they can keep everybody informed, especially during this time of crisis. So that's the first. The second is resilient implementation. What I mean by this is when people go and work in their homes, they're not always connected to the servers of your company, is it? They have to use their own devices. They have to use their mobile phone. They have to be able to, reach out using their laptops, whatever that may be. It's very critical that you can make work continue, make them productive using their own devices. So your implementation must be resilient enough for them to continue on being productive, being engaged. The third piece is culture and collaboration mindset. So this one, I speak to all HR leaders and practitioners in the room. Everything you're doing, it can't be just to get the job done. It has to think about what kind of culture are we building, even in this virtual world? What kind of collaboration activities are we doing to keep people together? So we've seen companies go as far as doing their own TikTok challenge, or maybe doing a bingo challenge, celebrating birthdays, celebrating work anniversaries, all happening online. So how are you bridging that gap? How are you able to connect to employees at this point in time is something for us to reflect on. The fourth is reliable and secure connectivity. So here's where it gets tricky. It's not just the internet, right? Number one, you've got to make sure that the technologies you're using can run on the bandwidth that your employees have. But the second is, take a look at your answers earlier. You talked about WhatsApp, Viber, or maybe FB Messenger. And while these are great tools that you can use, I wanted to remind everyone that this is a set of consumer applications. In other words, they're not designed for work. The securities on them, they may have ads. People can screen share, people can take a screen capture and share that information, confidential information about your company to strangers, to other people that are not authorized. And so that's something that you definitely want to think about as you're rolling out any of these initiatives or tools. How secure is your connection for you to take care of your confidential information? The fifth one is optimized integration. So again, this is not for IT alone. This is for HR. How are you piecing your processes together so that it's efficient even if people are not in the office? So for example, filing of leave forms. It could be as simple as that, filing attendance. How are they doing it right now? Is it just a text? Is it just a message to the manager? How does that get recorded into your system? How does that come together so that you avoid any redundancies? Or do they actually have to file for leave 3 times? One to the manager, one to HR, and a copy for themselves. So that's something that we really have to think of in this extended workplace, because we have no control over a lot of the things that our employees are doing, how they're managing their work. But we can control the behaviors we want to promote. And that's where optimized integration can come in. And the last is data-driven change. You know, in this pandemic, in this crisis, for those watching from Manila, we are in GCQ, right? And it's been 3 or 4 months already. So how have you adjusted? Are you doing the same things that you used to do 3 months ago? Or are you doing new things because you've found that engagement needs to go up, talent acquisition needs to go up? So what are the numbers that you're relying on for you to be able to adapt more and to manage this change across your entire organization? So these are the 6 areas that if you really look at it and you look at the data, companies and organizations that communicate effectively, that have processes set, that have really strong communication, are 4.5 times more likely to retain the best employees. We definitely want this statistic. This is something that we want to maintain, and retention is always a key part of any business. Another statistic from HRD Asia, 70% of organizations report that the main cost-cutting measure they plan to use is more effective use of technology. Again, this is very critical. So it's not just getting the technologies that all other companies are getting, but really looking at your entire list, taking an audit and taking account of all the technologies you have and being able to see where you can increase efficiency and be more effective in leading the team virtually. All right, so these are the 6. We'll definitely send these slides to you, but I do want to run one last poll before I turn over to Lawrence. So the question for this, again, silent reflection or poll reflection, is what out of the 6 areas, what do you think are your key strengths? What are you doing right today? And I'll give everybody a few seconds to answer. Check all that apply. And it's just good for us to get a pulse in the room and be able to see where everyone is. You know, what are the common areas of strength and what are the common areas of development? All right. So I'll give everyone a few seconds more. What are you good at? Okay. And if everyone's done, we're now gonna just show the responses and get a pulse in the room. All right, nice. This is amazing. It really is it really is a room filled with HR folks, because these are the 2 that when we surveyed HR professionals and HR leaders, these are the 2 that they spend a lot of time on. And I'm really happy that everyone here shares the same sentiments. Your strengths are enhanced leadership communication, getting your leaders to be at the forefront of communication, and culture and collaboration mindset. So 73% of everyone watching and joining us today have these 2 core strengths. The next one is resilient implementation. So that's great. You've found a way to get things up and running, and that's expected at this point in time, you know, 3 months, 4 months into the lockdown. So resilient implementation, super important. And 3 things that we need to work on: reliable and secure connectivity. So going beyond the bandwidth, not just the bandwidth, but making sure that all our data secure is an area for improvement for us. Optimize integration, putting things together. About half the room have it as a strength, half the room have it as an area for development. And I think at this point, data-driven change seems to be the area that all of us admit something we need to work on. So it's come to 3 months, and this is a good point for you. Look at all that data, check your engagement rate, check your retention rate, check for performance. Are people productive? Are they delivering the results that they need to deliver at work? And hopefully by getting that data, you can now make those adjustments as we move into the next half of the year. So thank you, everyone. I'll be back for question and answer later on, but I'd like to turn over the floor, the virtual floor, to the Talent View Culture and Collaborations Head, Lawrence Villanueva. Lawrence?
Hi, Ange. Thank you again for sharing the extended workplace design. So I'm sure everyone is already reassessing their existing practices and how they could apply those kind of transformation to their organization. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Lawrence Villanueva. I've been working in the HR industry for more than 10 years. So the first half has been spent collaborating closely with talent management leaders to get the right people on board and make sure that before you even promote someone, they already have the right competencies to be successful in the role. And then the next 5 years has been spent with Talent View. This time, we do a lot of research to understand why people join the organization, why people stay, leave, and how employers could turn them to their employee brand ambassadors or employer brand ambassadors. And then recently, we've partnered with Workplace by Facebook, and this time it's really designed to advance our mission as well, which is to help employers get noticed and loved. So the Facebook team has spent over a decade trying to understand how people connect, communicate, and build digital communities. So for the past few years, we are excited to share what we've learned and how this has been applied to one of the most important communities for everyone, which is the world of work. Because essentially, we spend 1/3 of our lives constantly communicating, collaborating, and engaging with our colleagues. And then we'll also pay attention to the trends that's shaping the future of workforce. So a lot of the workforce of today are now mobile. And as you can see, everyone is probably attending this webinar at the comfort of most of you guys are probably attending this webinar at the comfort of your own homes. And then we also recognize that the millennials and Gen Zs have taken over the workplace already. And there's also so much, I would say, uncertainty and change in our personal and professional lives. So as a leader, as an HR leader in particular, we recognize that there's a need to act on these changes so that our organization could adapt more effectively. So over the next 10 minutes, we will be sharing with you how Workplace by Facebook has helped different organizations to adapt much more effectively and make sure that their people feel so much more connected, even if we're all working apart. And then I think I no longer need to explain the first trend. You know, everything that we do is centered around mobile experience. Probably the first thing that you did today is to check your phone for your schedule, or like many other Filipinos out there, you'd probably connect with your loved ones regardless if they're here in the Philippines or abroad. And that's the reality that we've embraced unconsciously over the past few years. Everything that we do every day is really centered around the things that we can do on our mobile phones. And then we also have the Gen Zs and millennials taking over the workplace. These generations have grown up using Viber, Instagram, or Facebook, just to name a few. And to capture their attention, the way we communicate and express our thoughts and I would say our messages should be much more engaging through videos, live feeds, images, and GIFs. And then next would be your shift in communications. You know, there's so much, knowing that there's so much change in our external environment, the amount of information that we receive every day has also drastically gone up. So a lot of the employees out there would normally like to share their ideas as well. They would like to share their goals, their accomplishments, so that leaders could recognize their contribution to the organization. So more importantly, what we're seeing, and this is also based from our study, leaders and employees would almost always would like to have a voice at work. So they want to be able to express the things that they're worried about and know that leaders are listening closely to the things that are important to their hearts. So these are some of the key trends that's shaping the future of work And these are the primary reasons why fast forward thinking organizations are continuously evolving and changing the way they work. So here's a quick background about Workplace by Facebook, just to give everyone an overview of the platform.
As your business evolves for the future, your teams and culture should change and grow with it. The key to achieving this is connection. At Facebook, we know a lot about connecting people. That's why we built Workplace, to connect the world of work and turn companies into communities. And just like Facebook and Messenger, Workplace is intuitive and simple to use. Workplace lets you connect directly with your employees, meaning you can always find and engage the right people at the right time. It also lets you broadcast live to your entire company to get real-time comments and reactions. Workplace isn't just about increasing engagement, it's about boosting culture too. Groups allow you to share ideas, celebrate contributions, and connect on projects with meaningful collaboration. They're a shared space where people and teams feel connected, informed, and supported. When every team, manager, or partner is connected, great things happen. Workplace gives you confidence that your teams are working together, solving problems and striving for success. With Knowledge Library, all your company and team's resources can sit in one place. Workplace seamlessly integrates with your existing tools and adapts with your organization. It gives you the control, security, and visibility your company needs. No matter what type of work you do, Workplace is designed for everyone, whether you're behind a desk or in front of customers. With 5 million paid users around the world, Workplace has connected companies in a big way. Just imagine what it could do for yours.
So in addition to that, the Facebook team has taken everything that they've learned over the past 10 years, coming from more than 2 billion users, to apply that in the world of work, which is Workplace. And every time we share this, the first question that we normally get is, Lawrence, can we use our personal Facebook account to log on to Workplace? So the quick answer to that is no. It's a totally separate and secured platform designed for enterprise use or application. So you won't see any of your posts on Workplace. So if you post something on Facebook, that's not going to be available on Workplace. And at the same time, when we talk about your connections, in Facebook, it's normally your relatives and friends. On the other end, when we cover Workplace, it's mainly about your colleagues and the people that you would normally work with. And much more importantly, and I think this is something that Angel shared earlier, there's no ads. You won't see any ads. If, let's say, you searched on Shopee or Lazada, you won't see anything on the upper right screen that would showcase or cover the most recent search that you've done. And more importantly, data that you put on Workplace is something that you own. So everything on Workplace is something that you can control as a whole organization. And then what's more, I would say, exciting about it is that everything that more than 2 billion people are using globally are also in the platform. So you have your chat, you have your search when you can easily share important documents that you need to find or that you need to, I would say, share across the business. And then you also have your news feeds that you can easily personalize depending on your preference. And you also have your groups, which for me, I would consider as the lifeblood of Workplace, knowing that all of the functional projects that needs to be accomplished would happen on over groups. And then lastly would be profiles. So if, let's say, you're a huge organization and you have different functions, you could easily search for an employee profile and see from there if he or she is the right person to collaborate with. So try to think of the most recent technological implementation that you've done. Were you able to successfully change behaviors, or did you experience resistance to change? On Workplace's end, knowing that it's already used by more than 2 billion people across the globe, there's almost no training required. So you easily save on training costs, that's number one. And then there's almost no cost as well for increasing your adoption rates. And then protecting your data as well is our top priority. Workplace meets the highest industry standards for data security and privacy. So think of the Singapore government as a organization, or think of the Singapore government. They have one of the highest, I would say, data security measures globally. And they've enrolled all of their 143,000 employees who would normally constantly communicate, collaborate, and share crucial information as part of their day-to-day responsibility. And we also understand that there's a need to meet where talents are. So can you imagine, a lot of us, especially on the consumer and customer side, would normally reach out to an organization if let's say we would like to report a faulty product or a service that was rendered to us. We use social media primarily to connect with the organizations that we want to reach out to. So why not apply the same transformation to your business? And we also recognize that it's important to make things more engaging, especially for the workforce of today. So with the click of a video, with the click of a button, you can start a live video and connect with all of the employees that you care about. And more than just using videos, what we're finding out is that with Workplace, we're encouraging two-way communications. So messages and communications doesn't need to come from the top leaders all the time. Most of the time, what we're seeing is that with Workplace, we're encouraging two-way communications across the business, and people could easily share how they feel, the questions that they want answered, and they're easily, I would say, informed around the direction of the business. And lastly, and I would say this is the most critical part, if you want to align your people to the new mission, vision, and values of the organization, the first step that you need to do is to strengthen your community and culture so that these, I would say, critical direction could easily be weaved to the daily conversations happening at work. And just like what I've shared earlier, with a click of a button, you can get an audio call or a video call and invite up to 50 employees to join the conversation, even if they're not a part of your organization. So think of 7-Eleven as a business. They have different distributors, locators, suppliers that they need to collaborate with. They're also on Workplace. So on the dealer's end, if let's say I'm a store owner and I want to share my best practice across the different dealers of 7-Eleven across the Philippines, they have a dedicated group for that. And it's really designed to share what has been effective so that the other businesses or other dealers in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao could replicate the same practices that will thereby drive the revenue across the Philippines. So that's the kind of transformation that we're seeing, at least for 7-Eleven, as one of the users of Workplace by Facebook. Then once you're already using the platform as a way to communicate, engage, and get work done, the next step is for you to introduce bots. And it's really designed to make the lives of your employees so much easier. Now, in this case, what we're sharing would be around HR, which is really using Workplace as a tool for onboarding talents and for learning and development. So before you even ask an employee to start from day one, you can already create a pre-onboarding group where they would be able to see, let's say, the most recent town hall from your CEO. Or it's an area where they could also socialize with other new hires that are about to join the organization. And then once they're already onboarded, you can easily welcome new hires instead of sending so many emails, which we recognize is so painful nowadays. So can you imagine if you're in HR, the amount of emails that you need to send out if you're going to welcome someone new? Or if, let's say, you're about to onboard 50 to 100 employees, then you multiply that by that number. And those are the amount of emails that normally an HR practitioner would send out. So it's something that can be automated. You can easily provide information and it's all stored in one place. Then when we cover learning and development, if you want to continuously upskill employees, then you can easily drip feed the training content so that it won't be overwhelming for them. So you can have it scheduled and you can easily monitor the understanding of the employees based on the skills that you want to build. You can even create a pop quiz to measure the concepts that you have laid out for your learning and development initiatives. And then you'd also be able to monitor their completion rates so that you're also sure that there is progress when we cover your learning and development programs. And then next would be rewards and recognition. So what we're seeing is that typically, and as we've shared earlier, a lot of the conversation would normally happen from the top. But in this case, we now give the power to your employees. You can celebrate success as a whole organization, but the very first step that we would normally recommend is for you to align your rewards and recognition program with the values that you want to be displayed consistently in the organization. So people could easily nominate employees as well. using Workplace. So there's a dedicated group that you can create where all of the good conversations could take place. And it's really designed to inspire people to do the same. And as a best practice, what we're seeing with forward-thinking leaders from the organizations that we have worked with is that they normally post a 15 to 20-second video congratulating the employee, and from what we're finding out, it shows that the engagement rates would be so much higher if the leaders themselves would take the time to congratulate the employees over on Workplace. So it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't have any additional cost to create that video. It doesn't take a lot of time to build or create that kind of content. And number two, you're also handing over the power to your employees. They can easily nominate employees who share the same behaviors, and people could easily recognize what they have accomplished and how the behaviors should be displayed in the organization. So this is one of the most, I would say, engaging groups on Workplace that we're seeing to be very effective, not just in engaging talents, but also in terms of amplifying the values and culture of your organization. And then if, let's say, your executives or HR leaders would ask you today, hey, how engaging is our most recent program? Or what's the numbers like for your most recent campaigns? Sometimes it's going to take so much of our effort. It's going to take so much effort as well to get the figures, knowing that we still need to run a survey to get the pulse of the organization. With Workplace by Facebook, it's something integrated with your platform already. So you get results real time. You will be able to see which among the kind of contents you've posted are trending or which resonates well with all of your employees. And you'd also be able to monitor who among your leaders are engaging consistently with the employees coming from the different functions. So that's one of the key measures that we're trying to introduce in the workplace. So you also understand and know what to prioritize in terms of your objectives. And then our main message here is less is more. If you're using emails, Viber, WhatsApp, Messenger, Zoom, for example, you can put everything in one place. And that's what people would normally appreciate about Workplace by Facebook. It's designed to replace or designed to be integrated with the different platforms that I've shared earlier. So it's real time. Leaders could easily create video content, share critical information so that everyone is informed right away. It's also asynchronous. So if you want to focus on a specific task and you don't want to be notified with all of the workplace activities, you can easily turn on your do not disturb function, and you'll be able to focus on the task at hand, and you can respond at your preferred time. And then lastly would be, you also have your static and dynamic content. It's a feature called Knowledge Library, but it's essentially a place where you can store all of the information that people need to see regularly. So from the policies and practices, I would say forms that everyone needs to fill out, along with the mission, vision, and values, along with the onboarding materials that everyone needs from day one to be successful in their role. You can put that on Workplace as well so that people know where to see it and the kind of information that they need to consume from day one. And it's all within the same user interface, which is Workplace. So everything now is stored in one place. And this is the adoption rates that we're seeing, 80% globally. So from our experience, 50 to 60% would normally be an acceptable number. But with Workplace, the number is 80% globally. And here in the Philippines, we think it's even higher than that, knowing that Filipinos would normally spend 4 to 5 hours every day on Facebook. So more than 80 million Filipinos are already in the platform using some of the features that we have shared earlier today. And then in terms of the quantitative figures, these are some of the numbers that we're seeing coming from the Forrester Total Economic Impact Report. 25% reduction in leadership communication cost and 34% reduction in time taken for frontline workers to get updates. So in my next slide, I will be sharing with you the video from Kevin Johnson, the CEO of Starbucks, and how this is put in action. And then 10% increase in employee retention and 24% increase on onboarding efficiency. So again, if you build that sense of culture and community across the business, people would feel much more connected with the colleagues that they work with regularly, thereby affecting or impacting retention. So here's the video from the Starbucks CEO, Kevin Johnson.
In January, we implemented Workplace by Facebook. Now think of Workplace by Facebook as a private Facebook for Starbucks partners to communicate and share information. Workplace allows us now to stream live open forums and have real-time dialogue with our store managers. We launched this in January with a live open forum hosted by Howard and myself with all store managers in the US. That's what you see up here on the screen. This was actual live open forum in January. And you can see by this live video, we are getting real-time comments, hearts, thumbs up, sometimes a thumbs down, mostly thumbs ups, and store managers asking us questions. Now this was a new experience for both Howard and myself. But we have now started doing these Workplace Live open forums with our store managers every month. And store managers have now found a way to create community and better connect with us. Some recent examples. About a month ago, a store manager posted on Workplace. They posted a post that said that they are selling more than 20 beverages a day that are not on our official beverage menu. They are beverages that were featured on Instagram. How many people use Instagram to get your beverage? See all kinds of beverages on Instagram. Well, they're selling 20 a day. They're not sure they have the right recipe. Well, within 24-hour period, nearly 40 other store managers also posted and said, I'm selling 15 of these a day. I'm selling 30 of these a day. And then that evening, our category marketing team saw the volume of posts and how much this beverage featured on Instagram was selling in our stores. And they made a decision that night and posted back to store managers by the next morning that they had made the decision to add this to the official beverage recipes, something that could have taken weeks, if not months, to happen before Workplace, happened in one day. That is creating visibility with our store managers that's enabling us to have more velocity in the way we make decisions so we can better serve our store managers and our partners in the stores.
So in their case, they have more than 254,000 employees across the United States. And this is the kind of transformation that excites us to work with Workplace by Facebook. So in the story of Kevin Johnson, they have empowered their employees to communicate and collaborate independently across the different stores. And I would say that the main ingredient in this kind of transformation is the leader himself. So you need to trust your employees to make crucial decisions, and you need to empower them with platforms and tools or technologies that is easy to use and integrated with the different platforms that you already have within the business. And here's another story coming from AirAsia that I would say is one of our favorites as well.
We've become a very large and complex organization and operations, 22,000 All-Stars who come from 16 different nationalities spread across over 200 destinations, 5 countries of operations, 9 airlines. We're a big operation. So we use Workplace really to do 2 things: connect people and make workflow.
We are operating 1,300 flights on a daily basis, and we carry more than 200,000 passengers from A to B. We use Workplace heavily within our operations, especially as a connecting tool between our guys on the apron and in the terminal at the airports across Asia and Australia.
Workplace has been a revolution for AirAsia. It has changed the way my pilots operate, especially by us informing them about immediate changes that affect their flights on a particular day, get them information about the issues that we face on our on-time performance, as well as let them know of everything that's happening in the industry.
Workplace really helped AirAsia Japan members to overcome their language barriers, I think, because compared with another AOCs, Japan tend to less use English in daily conversation, but having translate function with Workplace, it's easier for them to share about their ideas and understand what's going on in a group.
We realized that Workplace could be used as a medium of communication for ground operations. we started sharing our load distribution messages on Workplace, because rather than sending out emails, when you send it on Workplace, it is more accessible to everybody via their phones. Since everything is written black and white, the message is delivered accurately and there's no room for mistake.
So what I've requested is whether we could help educate our staff to create more awareness about trafficking, and if they spot cases, to know what to do and who to report it to. So the AirAsia Foundation itself is a personality on Workplace, so it's followed by everyone, so that ensures that everybody will view what AirAsia Foundation posts every time they log on to Workplace.
My personal favorite feature would be creating polls. Makes my life easy, makes decision making easy, and of course I go live with my pilots at least once a quarter to give them update about what's happening around in flight operations and what's the strategy going forward.
I think most of us like it most for the way that we now can get to know our colleagues better.
Who has been promoted, who is moving from one department to another department, everything is shared on Workplace. It's an AirAsia community in one network.
Workplace is kind of changing the way we work and connecting people better.
So in the case of AirAsia, the number one reason why they decided to use Workplace is to fight bureaucracy. It really started with that. And they want to make sure that people could easily have that two-way conversation, not just with their colleagues, but even with the leaders of the organization. So on their end, they have 22,000 employees coming from 16 nationalities, all collaborating on Workplace. So you could easily translate your videos as well. It's available to, I think, in more than 50 languages across the globe. And here in the Philippines, it's available in Filipino and Bisaya and English primarily. So can you imagine how Workplace has removed all of the barriers to communication with one of the key features that is that's being used globally? And our last example here would be Globe. They have more than 7,000 employees, and one of the key reasons why they wanted to use Workplace is to create that sense of community and increase the engagement of their employees. So they have different groups dedicated for certain activities or engagement activities. So if you notice, you have your functional groups. Normally, that's where you will get project done, but you can also create communities outside of work. You have wellness at Globe, services at Globe, only at Globe, or fun at Globe, where they would really create engagement programs and employees could easily subscribe to it. So think of the kind of transformation that you can apply to your business. And what we're trying to say here is that regardless if you have 50 employees or 100,000 employees, Workplace is a platform designed to be used across the organization. And there's almost no training required, as we've shared earlier. So imagine yourself, if let's say you want to implement Workplace by Facebook, the first step really is to use it as a platform for communications. You want to make sure that leaders are involved, knowing that people would look up to them greatly, and they would really rely on them at least for the first 3 months in terms of content. So leaders would primarily use this as a way to communicate across all of your employees. And then next would be collaboration. It's also a place where work can be done. It's a place where you can easily work with different functions, track the progress of your project up to its completion, and share the reports to your colleagues or immediate superior. And then lastly would be automation. This is the time where, again, you can make the lives of your employees so much easier. In AirAsia's case, they've created a bot so that employees no longer need to fill out so many forms when booking for a flight. All they need to do is just type their name. They've integrated that already with their HIS system, and it will automatically book the flights for them as well. So think of the potential automations as well that you can introduce to your business so that you can make the lives of your employees easier. So it really starts with using Workplace as a platform for communications and engagement. Next is for collaboration. And then lastly would be for automation. And then we will also be sharing a link where you can try Workplace from Facebook for free. And the team of Win and Anna will be sharing that later after this webinar. So register using that account and you can easily explore and utilize Workplace for your organization. So I'm welcoming back Ange to the conversation to entertain any questions that you have.
Nice. I hope that was helpful. Thanks so much, Lawrence. I'll start with one question that I typically receive, if that's okay. And usually, a lot of people ask, so what if an employee resigns? Or what if I'm adding a new employee? And the nice thing about Workplace is that you can connect it to your Active Directory. So unlike Facebook or maybe Viber, where an employee has resigned, but you continuously keep sharing that information to them, and you wouldn't know until you look manually at the list. On Workplace, if somebody resigns and you take them out of your employee directory, immediately they can no longer access their workplace. Their conversation trail will still be there. The content they posted will still be there if you want it to be there, so that the replacement person can take a look. But the person who resigned no longer has access. So in the same way, like Lawrence mentioned, if you add a new hire onto your employee list, immediately they will have access to Workplace. All right, so I think we have a question here, Lo. We'll check our chat. Do you see it? Are there any other questions? Feel free to weigh in, guys. But again, whatever slides we've shared, we'll also send this to you so that you have access. All right.
And another question, I think there's a question here around where to start in terms of implementing Workplace. So we would normally recommend to identify your top 3 objectives first and the kind of transformation that you want to see in your business. So that's essentially the first part, identifying the things that you want to change from your existing practices. For some organizations, it's really about leadership visibility, unifying their modes of communication, and making sure that they automate some of the existing processes inside. So those are some of the typical use cases for Workplace, but it will really vary depending on your organization. But the first step really is to identify what you would like to change and the kind of transformation that you have seen or that you want to implement for your business.
And speed-wise, I think, just to add to what Lawrence mentioned, you can probably have a range of 1 week to 6 weeks, depending on those objectives. But for the pandemic, for example, we've seen companies prepare for it, roll out Workplace, and get everybody or 90% or more on board within 1 to 2 weeks. So that's something you can switch on very, very fast. And I think the advantage here as well is that everyone knows how to use Facebook. So when you show them Workplace, the learning curve is not so steep. So everyone is able to quickly adapt, adjust, share, like, or comment. And you immediately see that engagement. Lo, we have another question. I'll throw this one to you. What client support does Workplace provide?
So in terms of client support, we're here to help you in terms of identifying your key objectives. We're here to help you as well in terms of onboarding your executives, because we know for a fact that this will only be successful if your executives and leadership team are on board. We will also conduct a lot of workshops to make sure that everyone across the organization is familiar with Workplace. And we will be laying out the clear why behind it. Because if people know the why behind a certain initiative, the more likely they are to engage. And then next would also help you in terms of integrating Workplace with your IT platforms or existing platforms and create workflows that will somehow replicate the existing tools and practices that everyone is doing in the organization, so that you'd also experience higher adoption rates as we've seen in the previous slides that I've shared.
All right, and there's another question that came in. Does Workplace need a central administrator, either in IT or HR, for assets and resources to be properly managed and simulate the actual workplace? Straight answer is yes. You definitely want somebody on top for HR to make sure, for example, that when you announce a holiday or you announce new policies, that it's coming from the right source. And of course, on IT, not really a main person, but just a point person that can sort of speak with Workplace for the integrations. So yes, that would be very much preferred, so that every area is covered, from the communications plan all the way to the IT implementation.
And just to add, I would say that the members that are crucial or essential in implementing Workplace would be people or leaders from IT, from comms, and from HR. So those are, I would say, the recipes for success when implementing Workplace.
There's another question. What are features accessible for free? Lawrence, you want to take that as well?
Sure. So you can easily register today if you want to, and you'll be able to access almost all of the features available in advance. But there are some, I would say, differences behind it. First would be there is a limit in terms of the number of groups that you can create. That's number one. In Workplace for free, you can only create up to 50 groups. For Workplace Advanced, there's no limit to it. And there's also a limit in terms of the amount of gig that you can use. So for Workplace free, it's 5 gig. For Workplace Advanced, it's 1 terabyte, or it's almost unlimited, so to say. And then there are some integrations as well that are only available in Workplace Advanced.
Right. So I believe that's the last question. If you think of anything else, please don't hesitate to send us a message. I'll be doing some final announcements as we close out this webinar. So just some final notes for everyone. Aside from the slides that we're going to share with you, wanted to share with you as well that anytime you want to have an exploratory meeting on Workplace, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And you know, hope is not a strategy. We all hope that this crisis can be minimized or abated very soon. But for now, what we need to do is make sure that our teams are engaged, make sure that our leaders are involved in announcements and communication. And again, as HR leaders ourselves, make sure that culture and collaboration is always on our minds as we implement any of our initiatives. So a few requests from you guys. Appreciate if you can answer our poll. Let us know what we're doing right. Let us know how we can improve. And for anyone that answers our feedback, we'll give you an advanced copy of the latest research that we're coming out with by the end of this month. It's the 2020 Employer Brand Strength Questionnaire, just checking how everyone is managing their employer brand, and if there are any priorities that have changed because of this first half of the year's events. So please, it's flashing in your screens. We'll truly appreciate if you can let us know how we did. All right. And as you're answering that, just sharing with you the bullet points, we will be sending you a copy of the webinar recording. We'll send you the presentation slides that we showed today. And we'll also send you some additional resources that can help you kickstart Workplace by Facebook. All right. So again, big thank you for joining us in our Webinar Wednesdays today, Workplace for HR, Building a Culture of Collaboration with Workplace. You have on screen the QR codes on LinkedIn for myself and Lawrence. So just point your camera phone to that QR code and we'll be able to connect with each other, continue our conversation on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so please again, connect with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Final contact details, get in touch with us. This is our email. You've got our website, you've got our LinkedIn page. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us for any of these channels. Again, thank you so much, everyone, and we hope to catch you in future events. Thank you for joining and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.